Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. Hi, I'm Iris Acker, and I'm hosting this evening. I'd like you to meet our panel. Michael McKeever, playwright, actor. Karen Stevens, the new Karen Stevens, award-winning actress. And Bill Hirschman, who is a theater arts journalist. I'm calling this show Music, Music, Music. And I want you to hear and see some music right now. Welcome to the South Florida Symphony, and representing the symphony is our guest, Beth Holland.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank
Love
you.
of music. I know Beth, and I know of her love of music, but how did you get involved with this symphony?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I was singing at a benefit, and you know, everything is chance in show business. The maestra was at the benefit and heard me sing and invited me to sing with one of their programs. They do, and the Tony goes to every year, and they sing songs from Tony Award winning shows. And she invited me to sing 2 songs. And it was a fabulous experience because she's not the kind of maestra who throws batons at people and screams. She's very patient, very knowledgeable, and she makes the artists feel very comfortable. And I was very impressed. And well, I'm a lover of the arts, and I have reached the stage of wanting to give back. And I fell in love with them and became a patron and became involved in getting money because, you know, I'm not Bill Gates or anything impressive like that. And that's how it started.
And you're an advisor, I would say. I'd give you that as the title. You are definitely good. No, we've had the maestra on our show. It was a wonderful show. It really was. And this is the other end. She's the on stage, and you're behind the stage. Now, how is this symphony different from all other symphonies?
Oh, it's different from many. First of all, she's different from the other Florida symphonies because she goes with what the composer wants. If the composer, Beethoven or whatever, they have all their notes, say, I want 100 musicians, she will hire 100 musicians, even though they'll scream in the office, say, we don't have the budget, we can't afford. No, that's being true to the piece. So she's true to the piece, that's what she does. Others will say, well, I have 45 musicians, that's it. And she's very selective. Anyone can audition. I mean, she doesn't keep people away from
I was going to ask you, where do you get them from?
They audition. People know that they're looking, and some of them are local, some of the musicians are local, and some are brought in. Of course, the dream would be, as most symphonies, to have the same musicians all the time, like the New York Philharmonic and Pittsburgh, all the biggies with the big budgets. But that's where we're going to get one of these days.
That's your hope and your future, yes. But you perform in various venues.
Yes, it started in Key West.
I didn't know that, really.
It was 20 years ago. This is our 20th year. It started in Key West. Then she had 45 musicians, all locals, of course. And the community felt that they would like to have a symphony, and family and friends and neighbors put the money together, and they hired the musicians, and they did their first concert and their first fundraisers in Key West, and then it grew. They still play at the Tennessee Williams Theater in Key West.
Tennessee Williams Fine Arts Center,
They play
yes.
now at the Arsh Center, which was a new addition in Miami. They play at the Broward Center, and they play in Boca Raton, now at Spanish River. Oh, sure. So they have 4 venues here in Florida.
How many programs do they put up a year?
5 here. That's 5 of the major concerts, but then they have chamber music concerts, and then they have all the concerts for the children. A big education children's program.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the children's programming.
Okay.
What exactly is it? What does it entail?
Well, unlike other orchestras, they don't just bring in the kids in a bus and have them sit and listen. They go to them, or they bring them in, but they will have themes. For example, marine biology is very big in Florida, as you know. So they have had a composer compose a special song about the marine life and the coral reefs. They want to save the coral reefs. And when they give an educational thing for the kids, they discuss the coral reefs and how it's important to save them. They play the music. They show, well, this is a horn and this is a violin, or whatever they name the different instruments. So it's not only for the symphony, but it is an educational thing in other areas.
That's wonderful.
Isn't that marvelous?
That's really terrific.
That is different.
For our viewing audience who might not know, who may not have seen our previous show with her on it, could you give us the maestra's name?
Oh,
That would be nice. Thank you for that. Okay.
Sabrina Alfonso.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm a big fan. I'm really a big fan. Sabrina Alfonso.
Yeah.
What do you
From
think-
Key
I'm sorry,
West.
Is there a aesthetic that the symphony particularly looks out for, that she's the type of piece? I noticed you mentioned earlier that they have a program sometimes of Tony-winning songs.
Right.
And is there any kind of guiding aesthetic to the kind of choices that this symphony makes? What can I see with you that I might not see somewhere else?
Well, she is really a classical conductor. And she likes to do Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, Brahms, the classics. But she also wants to please her audiences. So she does 2 pop concerts. One is the Tony goes to, and the other, which everybody does, but you can't be that exclusive. We do the American Songbook too. But she really is a classical conductor.
And she's very, yeah. And what's very exciting is that I know is that dance becomes a part of it. Am I right? The Martha Graham
well,
dances?
we have the Martha Graham dances coming, the full company. And they're going to do dance to Copland and I think Stravinsky. We're also having a flamenco group because they're doing some Spanish composer. So she is very anxious to combine the arts as well as combining education. She has a broad vision. It's wonderful.
That's really wonderful. And she's been there since the beginning of the
She
symphony.
created it. She created 20 years ago.
Wow.
Is that quite an anniversary?
1997.
20 years.
And it
Yeah.
seems like you all are going as strong as ever right now.
Well, it started small. It really started small. And when I came aboard, it was a struggle. They were worrying if they're going to pay the musicians. They got the checks ready, like at the end of the performance, they got the last dollar. I mean, it was that bad. And they worried about paying the venues. You have to pay the Broward Center,
sure.
et cetera, and it's pricey. I think it's $45,000 a concert. And, well, I'm aggressive, and I have friends. I'm calling in all my IOUs.
Well, you're so well known and respected throughout the region, so I'm sure that helps.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I just call them like I see them.
With friends. It's wonderful with friends. But I managed to find grant writers, and we got to the Broward Commission of the Arts. They the government gives grants, and we got grants from them. Without grants, we couldn't exist, or any of the arts organizations, you know. So we do get grants now. And then we had a wonderful check written by Tom Hormel, who loves us. I think it's the Hormel
Chili?
beef, you know, beef. And he's also a composer. He did some piece, something about Bird Island or something. And so his piece will be played. They also have composers coming to them to...
Oh, so you do original?
Yeah.
You actually are doing original stuff.
Right.
I didn't know
Very
that.
exciting.
Besides, you know, Mozart, etc., we have new composers coming to us
Great.
asking if their works could be played. We had a woman in the past, Ellen Zwillick, who was the first woman to get a Pulitzer for music. She has taught at Juilliard, and she's a composer, and her piece was played by the South Florida Symphony. So I'm kind of proud,
Yeah.
you know.
You should be.
Yeah.
Are you only able to keep musicians for the season, and then you have to start all over again the next season?
Well, we've kept a few key people. Our first chair, first violin, has been with us for a long time, and a few key players. Some come back, and some, because we can't give them a yearly contract, will go where they can work. But we try to keep as many as possible forever, and that's our dream, to have the same people forever.
So it's for budgetary reasons that you don't.
Yes, yes.
You mentioned
It's always
singing.
money. Pardon?
I'd say, tell us about your background. Not
Well,
necessarily in
I'm-
singing, but
Well, I am a singer and I'm an actress, and I've worked on Broadway, off Broadway, toured the world, and worked with Iris in a couple of shows, one at the Miami Shores Theater here,
yes, that was Twigs, I just remember.
and Twigs, and one at the Hollywood Playhouse.
That's been the Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, Eye of the Beholder. Tony Finstrom did a rewrite on it.
That's
it was
right.
done off Broadway. We did a little piece together, Karen and I.
Oh, I
we did
forgot
a
about
little
that. We did a film.
We did a little film together that
Yeah.
was
The three of
shown at
us.
the Miami Short Film Festival.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
have
what
a
is this
little-
film
I'm
called?
gonna
I
have
want
a-
to see it.
I'm going to have him bring up a
Love
little bit
Till.
of it.
Love Till.
All right, Beth,
With
Beth,
three
Iris, and
ladies.
Karen.
Yes,
Yes.
I love it.
that's
Yes,
right.
we're still us. We're the still.
And of course, you know, I know the two guys here. We haven't worked together, but so I'm at home. I say
Excellent.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, the whole theater community is family.
Yeah.
That we are.
That's the truth.
That we are.
Is there because you're so involved in raising funds and finding the angels, do you have advice for other organizations about how to go about that most effectively? What are the do's and don'ts when you're trying to attract angels?
I do it, and they should do it. I invite them to hear a performance. And I think a theater should do that, invite them and say, now see how wonderful we are.
You're showing them what they're investing in, so sure.
Exactly. So you show them the product, and you hope that they're going to get enthusiastic, and maybe you'll invite them more than once. Of course, you don't have them pay. They're your guests. And then you say, well, we hope you like that, or let's have lunch or a drink or dinner or something, and you talk to them and say, I know you liked it. Would you be interested, say, in season tickets? We start small. I don't hit them over the head right away and say, you know, it'd be very nice if you'd send a check for $50,000 or something. I think, you know, that might be a bit of a shock. But we start hopefully selling a subscription, and then we have little receptions. In other words, you're making a new friend, and then they get to know that we need money. And most of the time, then they volunteer. I don't say, please give me. At that time, they said, well, Beth, I know you need, would 5,000 help? And I said, it would be wonderful. And that's the way I
Do
do
you
it.
offer them things like naming rights or this chair or that chair?
Naming rights.
Well,
yes. Oh, I know what you mean.
You dedicated.
Oh,
Dedicate
dedicated.
something.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You gave me a very good idea. We haven't had that. You're engraved and sewn someplace because you gave money.
But you can't do that unless it's your theater.
Yeah.
Right, you need the space, you need the
that's
venue.
it.
Oh, but wait a minute, Bill.
Yeah.
I knew this would be a profitable time. They have an office that they opened in Wilton Manors with a big sign, South Florida Symphony, on it, and there is a naming wall for people who contributed, to the space. There we go. We could put up another wall for those who.
Or you could engrave the names on the tuba. On the outside of the tuba or the strad,
Well, there you are, folks. You saw it here.
Oh,
And
thank you.
They get noticed in the programs as well.
Oh, of course, of course.
So that's what it is.
I have to tell you, I've known you forever, but I've always known you as an actress and a singer.
Yeah.
I've never seen the side of you. It's wonderful. It's this whole other aspect of you and your character.
Well, I've always been interested this way, but I started when I was young as an activist, and I was always angry about something, and it was like they should do. And I was married to a wonderful man at the time, and he said, well, who are the they? If you feel that serious about it, why don't you do something about it? And that's how it started, and I opened my big mouth at a political dinner one night. And the man was rather powerful who was next to me. Oh, he wasn't hitting on me like this scene today. He was annoyed with me because I kept saying, I wanted this to happen and that. He said, well, if you're so smart, why did you do something about it? And I said, I tell you what, give me $1 a year, a title and a desk, and I will. And I went to work for the legislature in New York as an arts funding consultant. And we financed the Council of the Arts that was headed by Kitty Carlisle Hart, who became a dear friend. And I looked up to her. I wanted to grow up and be like Kitty, because she was elegant and smart. And so that's how I really started. So I had a contract, in a sense, that I would be in Albany unless I had an audition or a job. And then I didn't have to show up, well, an actor, So that was the beginning of the big time in finance, because I had a lot of money there to deal with, state funds.
Well, you were married to an activist.
Yes.
He was at the time the representing.
He was minority whip of the Senate, and he had left the Senate when I went in. He went on the bench, and he was an activist. I don't know if I may digress to that. You brought it up. It's funny that the average person thinks of anything that's obvious, you see. For example, he had to push to have taxis have insurance. There was a time in New York the taxis didn't have insurance, and he had to push that bill through. It took time. So you think, well, that's obvious. Of course they should, And lights in the street in front of buildings. You're not walking down, dark streets. Silly things that, of course. It's not of course. It takes like a few sessions. But anyway, there we are.
So you are a mover and a shaker.
Exactly.
Yes. Did they know this about you when they asked you to get involved, that you were a mover and a shaker?
I try not to talk about myself. I try to talk about
I was just going to tell them how we met, as you said, auditions. Well, we had both auditioned and gotten a commercial. I didn't know her. And it was a wonderful day because it was a seance at the Explorers Club in New York City. There were animals all over the walk, and there was a fireplace going, and Beth was put into a fur coat, sitting next to me, sweating, and we're holding hands and giggling the whole time. It was all we could do to not laugh out loud. And we became very good friends that day.
Nice.
Had so much in common because everything
We've been
struck us
friends
funny.
ever since, a lot of years. We don't do numbers here,
No.
please.
No.
But all that background, believe it or not, being in the arts, I mean, just as myself, I've devoted myself to promoting the arts. If you don't do anything about it, nothing will happen.
Sure.
It's as simple as that. Yeah. And if ever you want, I'd want her on my side for anything that I needed an activist, because that's what she is. And they knew that, and they recognized it too.
Well, again, looking for advice, there are arts activists these days here in Florida trying to get the Florida state legislature to listen up, to give more instead of giving less. Do you have any idea how you get them to appreciate?
There's a tough one, and I don't want to talk politics and name names.
No.
I suppose when you go to the polls, you have to do something, find out who support the arts and go to them, ask them, and also make sure they stay in office and help them. And those who don't, try to get people not to vote for them. It's hard.
You don't think it's a matter of trying to persuade them to see the light, the ones that are currently...
Can you persuade some, I'm going to say it, conservative Republicans to vote for the arts? They won't.
Okay.
They're not even voting for health care, so I'm certainly not going to get them to vote for the arts. So I'm sorry, fellas.
This is good.
I have a question about, I used to be a young violinist, and I played in symphony orchestras. Do you bring young musicians in for workshops with the senior musicians?
Of course. That's Sabrina. She is so wonderful. She's a comparatively young woman herself.
Do they get a chance to play with the symphony?
Not right away. Not right away. They have to get up to it, if they're good enough, of course.
Yeah, like high school students or something like that.
Usually they're not ready.
I remember, the reason I ask is when I was in high school, I shared a music stand with a senior violinist who had been a music teacher in Palm Beach County schools for years and years and years. He was legendary. And for me to sit, next to him, and it was a concert of Handels Messiah.
Ooh.
And for me to sit next to him and play, I was agog, at the honor of it, and so that's the reason I asked.
Oh yes,
that's interesting to have.
Yeah, I know. I know there are some students that are technically proficient that are very, very good. So I was just wondering if they ever got a chance to.
If they're that good, she'll grab them.
Yeah.
I love the symphony. I love the maestro. She is a show in herself. First of all, the fact that she's a maestro, it's not a maestro, and the uniqueness of that. I don't know how many women actually are conducting today.
Very few.
And when we had her on the show, I learned so much about her job of keeping her job. You have to start. She started her own symphony. That's what it is. That's the way you do it. And I could appreciate what she's doing by watching her. It's really quite remarkable. And the love that comes from the musicians. They love doing what they're doing, and they love doing it for her. And they have a marvelous reputation as a result.
Beth, it's obviously an amazing symphony. She's amazing. How the people that are watching this evening, how do they find out about it? Is there a website that you can go to?
I'm going to read it because I'm terrible at numbers. Math was not my thing. It's www.southfloridasymphony.org, and their telephone number is 954-522-8445, so they could get
They'll bring
tickets.
it up. It'll be on.
It'll be on CG.
Oh, lovely.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
and how do you get others to do what you're doing? I'm saying for the symphony, not for other things in general, but just to help you.
Well, again, as I told Bill, I invite them. This is an expensive endeavor sometimes.
Yeah.
You invite them and you hope that they'll be enthusiastic, and then there might be a little fundraiser. And you say, how about coming to that? It's $75 or something, and you get people, hopefully, to pay and come for the lunch and come for the drinks and have a few people entertain. In fact, it was one of those that they found me, I entertained. So that's the only way. It's very personal.
Very personal, yeah. All in who you know.
But it's also important that you feel so strongly about music, that you feel so strongly about the arts. I'm sure that makes your job that much more enjoyable to do.
I love it. It's so important to me. When I was a child, my parents took me to the opera, to the old Metropolitan Opera. So as a child, I was exposed to all of this. And I played the piano badly, and played in the junior high school, now they call it middle school, orchestra. We were all bad, incidentally, not like you, good violinists. It was painful. And I thought, I want to hear a good sound, you know, not the, but it started just, you know, as a kid.
Nice.
Beth and I at one time went into business together, and we produced one videotape, which is no longer on the market. Do you remember that?
I remember it very well. Your favorite
it's a matter
party
of,
jokes.
Again, you want something to happen, you have a product, do it yourself. Do it yourself. And then we all become activists in our own right for ourselves. But that's where it's at. This was wonderful. This was wonderful. Again,
really
music, music, music. Everybody loves music, I can say that. They may not go to the theater, but they certainly can enjoy a good symphony, a new concert. And that's what I encourage everybody to do, is not only do that. What do I say every week? Please, please go to the theater, support the arts. We love you for doing it, and you will love it all as an exchange. As an exchange, yeah, okay, by that. And this is all part of it as well. That's why Spotlight in the Arts, we're hoping, is a definite part of your life as well, every week. So continue, please, to join us. And I thank our panel. I thank our guest, Beth Holland. And I thank the South Florida Theater for bringing us such glorious, glorious sounds. Thank you.